welcome back to my channel. I'm Magnolia Day, and today we are building with terrain tools. And to get famous, big shout out and thank you to EA Game Changers for providing me with an early access copy of Get Famous. Of course, I wasn't able to get this video out before the worldwide release, but definitely getting it earlier allowed me to get this out earlier than I would have, so very, very thankful for that. In starting this, I was not planning on doing something this big. I was originally like this little structure that you see me working on here, like that was going to be it. And I was just like, I'm just playing around with terrain tools, just taking a look at the objects, seeing what we got, and well, it got away from me, and I kind of went overboard, and yeah, I at least end up moving this to a slightly smaller lot. I think it's a 50 by 40 instead of the, why I started on the 64 by 64, I don't know. I think because I thought it would be the prettiest lot, which it is definitely, like, has some of the best views, but the 50 by 40 lot has very good views as well. All the views from this neighborhood in Delso Valley, I forgot the name there of the world, all have such good views, especially at night and at sunset, which is kind of why I named this Sunset Manor, because, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. The sunset is so lovely. I mean, the sunsets and sunrises are always like my favorite times of day in The Sims. Like, just the light is like that nice yellow golden light. I mean, golden hour, whatever. But it's especially nice. Though I have to say, I don't know if it's a bug on my end or what, but like some of the lighting in this has been a bit weird. So yeah, at this point, I'm building with a sim on the lot, which for most of the time I am, because, I'm playing around with terrain tools and was testing a lot of things to make sure, they're properly routable, which most of this lot is routable at the end. But when I'm building in, what is it called? Like free build mode, where you just kind of go from the world view into build mode without like having a sim on the lot, the lighting is completely different. And like, I know that's usually actually is the case now with seasons, but it's almost the reverse. So like the lighting in free build mode, the grass is all kind of yellowed. It's a little dimmer. Like, you'll notice the kind of in some of these shots, the lighting almost looks too bright, like almost overexposed, or at least it did to me, on the outside at least. Definitely some small bugs with the lighting, I think, so hopefully those will get patched in the future, especially because the indoor lighting, I don't know if any of you have been playing, but the whole dark ceiling bug is definitely making the lighting weird, and I kind of just gave up getting things to get properly lit. Like the main big structure in this, the lighting on it is not my favorite, but it does the job. The shadows in it look really pretty. The shadows in all of this are like some of my favorite things. Even like I posted a bug that I was having with some of the spandrels on a Discord, and just like the lighting in that shot, despite like I was upset about like, the bug that I was having, even though I was able to get it to work properly in the end, but it was so pretty. The lighting, the shadows cast by these new windows. And okay, I guess I should actually talk about the pack. But these windows, this ornate set, build items mostly, though the buy items from it all are also all really nice, but I haven't looked at them in enough detail to really comment on them. But the build items, oh my gosh, I'm in love with these windows and doors. With the caveat, of course, that we do not have the archway. The archway is only the club version that's restricted based on your star level or whatever it is. I don't play with the game, so I don't know, but I'm really annoyed that I'm gonna have to ultimately download, a CC version. Hopefully somebody makes a CC version of that without the velvet rope that's in front of it, because I want to use it. I want it to match all the other items, and I don't have a matching version of it. Where I'm pretty sure all the other doors of that nature all have versions that are sans velvet rope. They don't come with the bouncer attached, but not in this one item that I really want, and I'm kind of annoyed about that. But all the other items are amazing. I'm trying to think, I've already put them. No, I'm putting it right now. Good timing. These little items, they're like shell something. No, it's not staying up on the screen long enough. Those might be my favorite item from the pack. That and then the long vertical piece that's, I think it's like 2 ribbons or something is the name of it. Those are just so nice to use, to like basically use like how I use them there, to like fill up space and just add that extra little bit of detail, which, I mean, you all know I love going kind of nuts with detail, especially on the exteriors. Once we get into interiors, I get a little lazy because it just takes me so long. But yeah, those items, I love them so much. Again, the only caveat with the build items that I don't really like, or I like it, but I also wish that with the railings, the ones that I use in this build everywhere, I wish we had a version that did not have the little llama head at the top of all the posts, especially because the way that the current CC setup for everybody is that fences are not something that people can really make. Like, there's some really ambitious people that go and use a different program than is the norm, but so we won't probably get a version sans llama, which I'm kind of annoyed about. But I mean, I guess there's other fences that'll kind of do the trick. And I could have just used like maybe the vampire fences or one of the ones from Get Together. I think has kind of some similarly ornate fences that would have done the job. But yeah, I mean, they did a pretty good job of like giving us some slightly more neutral options with all the ornate stuff. But some of the stuff they didn't, and it's a little annoying. Like, there's a few of the items that only have the like gold, gold, gold everywhere, which I'm totally forgetting which of the items that those are. And I just wish like that we had like just a white version of some of the stuff. But that's really my only gripe with the pack thus far. Of course, like, this is pretty much what you see in this is like all that I've touched of the pack. So I can't speak like too elaborately. I haven't really looked around the world, so like I can't speak to all that. Like, there's some people who are frustrated with the size of it. But from first glance up on in the pinnacles, it looks real nice, especially at night. Really love. Wait till I really, really like my outro in this. It was timed really well, and there's fireworks, and I'm so excited about it. It looks really nice. Yeah. Let's see, what else about the pack can I talk about? I wish, well, no, I mean, most of what my reactions are more to terrain tools, but also, I mean, I guess they kind of fit into this world too. I wish we would get some new terrain paints, especially like some that almost look like floor tiles for matching and just making everything look nice, and pathways. Yeah, I wish we could get some new of that stuff. Like, we haven't really had new ones since, well, we've had new ones, but they've been patched in, but we haven't had new ones with a game since Get Together. Of course, I mean, I came into the Sims world only like a year ago, but yeah, I really wish we could have some new terrain paint. And I mean, of course, I mean, I'm sure you've heard everyone talk about this, but that we could, okay, here, I'll talk about that in a second. But that we could paint the sides of the cliffs. You know, when the hills get too steep, they automatically generate that one texture. Per whichever world you're in, it's different, which at least that's nice. At least it's not the same texture in every single world. But, well, no, I actually don't know if I like that, because if somebody puts this build in a different world, even though I covered most of those bits up, it's going to look different. And that's not ideal. Like, I'm a control freak and I want everything to look the same in every case. And, yeah. Would love some new terrain paint is basically the gist of my reaction in that regards. Would also love, so the way that I used to put stuff on foundations was to build a basement directly below, and that allowed you to place items on foundations like their walls. Now with the way that basements work, that doesn't work anymore, because it basically, basements have to be perfectly surrounded by terrain. I don't think I show it here. I think I cut that footage out, or maybe I didn't even record it. I forgot to record a fair amount of this, actually. But yeah. What was I talking about? I completely lost my train of thought. Oh my God. Oh, basements. But so yeah, I can't place anything on foundations now unless the item itself kind of allows you to place it a little bit lower. But so basically I can't do my ivy covered foundations, and I can't cover everything in ivy like I wanted to, and I want to, because, well, I mean, as you can see with this build already, and I'm only like a third of the way through, I'm putting plants everywhere, and I want to continue to put plants everywhere, and I want those plants to be on the foundations. So the only, you can put the Jungle Adventure, 2 of those items you can put on the foundations. And then you can kind of sink the Romantic Garden lattices in to make it look like there's some ivy growing up the side. But those, of course, those have flowers in them, which, well, that's not a bad thing, but it's just not the most versatile. Yeah, so that's an annoyance. But overall, I'm excited about terrain tools and making all these little stairways and different levels is just so much fun, and I can't wait to like push this as far as I can go. I really want to make like a little town, like a little street kind of thing on a hill or something like that, and just like have a lot of staircases and hills and different elevations, and I don't know if it'll go how it is in my head, but hopefully it will. I don't know if I'll record that when I do that, because my game does run a lot slower when I'm recording. I don't have the world's best computer at all. I'm on a Mac, which, if any of you know, is not for gaming. Hopefully someday I'll get a proper gaming laptop. I don't want a PC because I do honestly like the portability. I like being able to play in bed, but I would love a game that like could run this at ultra and run well. Like, I run this at ultra, but I shouldn't. I definitely like over run my computer, which isn't the best, but well, I prioritize aesthetics over everything, and I don't really play the game. I think if I played the game, I would have to definitely run it on lower settings. But yeah, would love a better computer, and then I could record everything, especially because then I would have more space to record stuff too, and it just would be a nicer process. But anyways, point of that all was that I really want to build like a town on a hill, which some people have done. Well, I mean, I've done builds of, well, not this nature, but I've done, you know, houses on hills before this. And people have done towns on hills. I think, I'm trying to think, I can't remember who, but I have seen somebody do like an awesome town on a hill with like staircases and stuff. Still would really love diagonal staircases. If those ever got added into the game, I would be so happy. Yeah. So another thing, and you can see me here, I'm working a little bit on the terrain paint. I cut most of the landscaping out of this build just because that's not something that's necessarily new. You know, placing items down still works relatively similarly, except some items definitely do have a tendency to float, and if you look around closely at this build, there are definitely some landscaping items that are, you know, half floating off the ground just due to the nature of how they sit. But, oh my god, why do I keep losing my train of thought? The terrain paint, again. So this isn't, well, this is, I think it's a bug, but I prioritized the terrain paint looking the way it does in live mode, which is what you see here. Well, this isn't live mode, this is obviously build mode, but the way that it looks when you enter build mode via live mode versus free build mode, and my terrain looks totally different from that. It's all, the grass is much more yellow, kind of almost has that burnt look. But yeah, so I prioritized it looking good in live mode, in this mode, whatever. I can't speak today. Which I don't know, hopefully that's how it will look for you. I don't know, I can't make any promises, but you can go around and erase stuff if it looks weird. I tried not to paint too much because of that. Like, usually I would go in and make the pathways kind of have, you know, a more detailed texture to them. But I didn't, just because I didn't know how it was going to look for sure. The pathway at the very front has a rock texture, but that's about it. Otherwise, I think I might have put like just a slight bit of a dirt texture on like where, you know, wanted to make it look like people were walking around, that kind of thing. But other than that, the terrain painting is a bit more plain, I guess, than I would usually do. Yeah. What else to talk about? So some of these items here, so that couch, like that's the most neutral version of that. And I mean, I didn't go neutral on this. There's still obviously gold everywhere per my choosing, but I would love that couch in an even more neutral version. Like, I wish they had maybe given us just like a few wood swatches with everything. I'm sure there'll be recolors, but I mean, it's one of those things like I wish I didn't have to download recolors. I have seen somebody already do a recolor of the wardrobe units in wood tones, and super excited to use those in some of my more like personal builds because they will go so well. I mean, so much of this stuff is going to go so well with like historical looking builds, which for my personal game, it's not gameplay, but for my personal story thing, I don't know what to call it. My world is somewhat like pseudo-historical, like it's my main build in that is like supposed to be like a Georgian mansion and kind of historical-ish. So I'm super excited to go in and edit that and use all these items in there. So many of them are going to go so well. And we'll also need to like redo that entire build maybe. I don't know. I think I kind of just want to move my story along and just abandon that build partially. If none of you know what I'm talking about, on my Tumblr, I have a story called Witches and Wonders, and the Brindleton Bay 64 by 64 lot, I have a huge mansion, which I used my old technique of hills and raising up a million landscape items to make it look like it's situated atop the hill. And then I have, a chunk of basement torn out to make that look like, it kind of sinks down as well. Kind of basically like how I have this whole lot arranged. Like there's some lower bits and higher bits, which like you do. But I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it to go and try and rebuild that whole thing with proper terrain tools. I don't know if it would be possible to have it like look exactly like I do. Like I know the staircase. I mean, I would probably do a more elaborate staircase, but then those build, I've already, yeah, I think I'll just try to get my story out of there as soon as possible and maybe have there be another mansion in it at some point and do a proper mansion build. I don't know. I'm tempted to redo so many of my builds, but like, is that worth it? Is that something I should be spending my time on? I don't know. Come December, I am so excited to have more free time and build and build and build and build. Just go nuts with terrain tools, and we'll actually have the time to like properly look through everything in this pack. Like I kind of only looked at the ornate stuff. I haven't really taken a look at the mid-century modern stuff. Haven't really taken a look at the stuff that is, for the acting career, which I would really like to. That I would really kind of like, I'm tempted to play the game with this career. Like what I've seen of it so far looks like a lot of fun. And it's been a really long time since I've actually played the game. Played. I cannot speak today. But it looks really tempting. If I can get my game to run well, I think I might do that. I'd probably share screenshots of it on Tumblr if you're interested. Same name as here, and links are always in the description box. Blah blah blah. But yeah. Used a lot of these items that you're seeing here on the screen those are from Seasons, but this is definitely something where if I'm ever to go and use this game in my like personal simming, non-just building existence, how do I do English today? I really think I would add some CC to this, especially there's this garland objects from the Plumbob Tea Society's Rustic Romance pack, and I haven't even talked about this, and we're approaching the end. This is supposed to be for a wedding. Now, a caveat that I should say there, since, like I said, I don't really play the game, I've never thrown a wedding in my game. The one time I had Sims get married, I eloped because planning events in my game, I didn't really understand how those worked at the time. But there's a kitchen in the basement if you need a caterer. That should work okay. And there should be all the items, I think, for a wedding to go well. I think you might need a piano. I don't know if that's true or not, but if you do, I think there should be enough room in this hall to add one somewhere. Yeah, I think everything else is there. There's the arch, there's seats. End up kind of I put 4 violins for, pretend quartet. There's a bar. There's plenty of seating. Yeah, the area for receptioning versus, having the ceremony. I don't know if I'm totally happy with how those kind of separate. I basically have most of the tables out on the how do you call that? Veranda? Porch? I need to know my architecture terms better. Most of those are out there. But yeah, so what was I saying? Initially, I would add, I think, a lot of the items from the Rustic Romance pack by the Plumbob Tea Society. That is CC, so if you don't use CC, then hopefully the Sims will add more of those sort of items. I would also add candles like everywhere. None of the in-game candles that we had, I wasn't really happy with them. I kept trying to add them in places, but they didn't feel right. I think I would go with the ones by Industry Sims, or again, some of the ones from the Plum Bob Tea Society. I think the ones from their Rustic Romance pack would look good. Ooh, another thing about this build that I should mention before this ends, those staircases there that you just saw me place, they have a tendency to unplace, kind of how you just saw. So if that does happen, if like say you go to build, I think it's when you build a wall or a fence anywhere pretty much, or maybe I don't know if putting a foundation down anywhere else has the same effect, but they will kind of pop off. And in that case, you can either shrink the staircase to one tile, place it facing it towards okay, I know my directions, to the right. Basically, don't place it. It won't place automatically right along the foundation, but then you can pull it into place. You might also have to delete some of the tiles that are down in order to do that, for it to place properly. But if you have any issues with that, let me know, and maybe I can make I may make a tutorial in the future in December when I have more free time on just some tricks that I've picked up from my short 7 hours so far of playing around with terrain tools, and maybe if I come across anything else. But we are to the end of this. I hope you enjoyed if you're still watching, and information will be down below for download, and would love if you comment, like, subscribe, all those YouTube things, and have a good day. Bye!